member do his opening comments as well, and then we'll get right to you. I do want to thank our witnesses for being here, especially the FDA. I know you've testified a number of times in a very short period of time, so we do appreciate, Doctor, you being with us and all of our witnesses being with us today. The nature of this week is kind of hectic around here, so we will try to get your testimony and maybe a few questions, but it's an important subject. And I don't want to shortchange it, but I just want to kind of give you some context, as you all know what's going on here on Capitol Hill this week. The subject of today's hearing affects Americans across the country, the rising cost of off-patent drugs that lack generic competition. To facilitate competition in the pharmaceutical market, the Hatch-Waxman Act created an accelerated pathway for approving generics while maintaining incentives for companies to invest in developing new innovative products. Hatch-Waxman continues to promote the development of low-cost generics. According to a recent report, generics are only 27% of the total drug costs in the United States, yet fill 89% of prescriptions. Last year, however, we saw that there are some medicines with increasing prices, and even though those medicines are not protected by remaining patent life or regulatory exclusivity, they lack lower-cost generic equivalents. The big one, of course, was Turing Pharmaceuticals. Turing acquired the drug Daraprim and quickly increased the price about 5,000%. From $13 a pill to over $750. Even though the FDA approved Daraprim in 1953, over 60 years ago, there remains no cheap generics for competition of this particular pharmaceutical. What is not as well known as the exorbitant price is the manipulation of the regulatory framework. Not only did Turing increase the price of Daraprim, but the company also adopted a strategy to block generic competition, thereby frustrating the intent of the law. The strategy is simple. Generic manufacturers are generally not required to submit full clinical trial data to establish safety and efficacy. They instead rely on FDA's previous finding of safety, effectiveness for the approved medicine. For the generic application, the generic manufacturer obtains samples of the approved medicine and demonstrates their product is bioequivalent to that approved product. Simple enough. But then enter bad actors. Turing thwarted generic competition by blocking generic companies' access to samples of Turing's pricey product, inhibiting generic manufacturers from conducting the bioequivalence testing for the generic application. Indeed, Turing testified admitting to this blocking strategy to try and block a generic competitor for at least 3 years. Companies should not be able to abuse the system to block generic competition. Such abuse is leading to debilitating drug cost. At the same time, however, distribution restrictions oftentimes serve important purposes, such as ensuring the safe use and distribution of medicines with heightened safety concerns. In 2007, Congress gave FDA authority to order risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, programs for medicines with heightened safety concerns. This RIMS program ensure that the benefits of medicine with a known or potential safety concern outweigh the risk of the medicine. FDA can mandate that certain distribution restrictions are part of the RIMS program. This hearing will distinguish between the good actors and those companies like Turing that self-impose restricted distributions for medicines with no apparent reason other than to block the competition. The panelists today will help us examine the scope of the misuse of this restricted distribution systems to block generic competition and help identify solutions. This Congress needs to find a way to help the FDA spur the entrance of generic competition into the market. This hearing is designed to help us move towards that goal. Finally, I'd like to thank our ranking member for his interest in this issue. There's a good chance that we aren't going to agree always on what may be the solution, but I am pleased that our staffs have been able to work together on this issue so well. And with that, I would like to